कुमार स्वामी नायक है गोंगो लिबू लटोका रेडियो फीजी 2 में पुराना गाना लगे हमें बहुत अच्छा लगे
रेडियो फीजी 2 देश की
In the news tonight, number of suicide cases alarming. Corrections officers charged. And regulating quality of food a challenge.
From the studios of FBC Suva, Edwin Nunn.
Pulo Vinaka, Fiji. Concerns have been raised on the increasing number of suicides and attempted suicides on a monthly basis. Empower Pacific mental health specialist Prem Singh has revealed that incidents have spiked to over 100 cases a year since 2019. Details with Josiah Nanunga.
Suicide and attempted suicide continue to rear its ugly head, with an influx cases recorded in recent months. Empower Pacific reveals that Fijians from the age of 15 to 25 are prone to this social ill.
Females have shown an increased number of deliberate self-harm, including attempted suicide, but males within these age groups complete suicide rather than just attempt deliberate self-harm. And the ethnicity that is actually much more vulnerable are Indo-Fijians.
Police also indicated that the number recorded for the first 3 months this year is unprecedented when compared to cases recorded in previous years.
We're into the third month of the year and we've already been recording a number of suicide and attempted suicide cases for the year. And when you compare it to the same period last year, it is quite an alarming number. Every year we record numerous cases, which is a concern.
Singh highlighted that teenagers dominate cases of deliberate self-harm, and a good number of them have been provided with psychological support. Josiah Nanunga, FBC News.
And we now join Josiah live. Josiah, what are some of the causes identified by Empower Pacific that are leading people to attempt to commit suicide?
Edwin, the recent high number of suicide, attempted suicide, and self-harm cases are a clear indication that society has lost its values. Empower Pacific, a non-government organization who has been taking the lead charge in providing psychological services to attempted suicide victims, says that many cases they receive are not linked to psychological or mental issues. It can either be a direct consequence of family or relationship issues, or more relevant, the socio-economic impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, more interestingly, it has been identified that Fijians in between the age of 35 to 55 are using lethal means to commit suicide. Empower Pacific is urging Fijians, if you may be going through some form of challenges, you can contact them to receive counseling support by dialing their number 7769224. Edwin.
Naka Josiah. 8 corrections officers charged with the assault and death of Seremaya Naindole Momo have been granted bail by the Suva Magistrates Court. Lina Rees reports that initially 10 corrections officers were to front court. However, one of the accused, Lemeki Koroi, has passed away in 2019, while a second accused, Lendua Tikoingau, no longer lives in Fiji.
Josefa Satini, Chochi Rangamate, Waisea Sanranu, Nemani Vasuvulangi, Issei Rakaso, Josefa Mbole Takimbureta, Peter Raikoso, and Apisai Nangamu have been charged with 1 count each for act intended to cause grievous harm. It is alleged that on the 20th of February 2019, the corrections officers unlawfully caused grievous harm to Seremaya Momo by continuously punching him several times inside the Chief Operations Office in the Namboro Minimum Corrections Center. Rakaso, Raikoso, and Boleta Kimbureta are charged with 1 count of assault causing actual bodily harm. Rakaso is also charged with 1 count of complicity in the suicide of another. It is alleged that on the 20th of February 2019, Rakaso willfully procured the suicide of Seremaya Momo by telling him to kill himself with a plastic wire inside the solitary block in the Namboro Minimum Correction Center. Defense revealed in court that 2 of the accused are no longer employed by the Fiji Corrections Service, while the remaining 6 accused have been suspended. The case has been transferred to the Suva High Court and will be recalled on the 6th of April. Lina Rees, FBC News.
The Ministry of Health says it's challenging to regulate the quality of food sold in the informal sector involving canteens and mini-marts. The ministry has found that food being sold by some shops and the informal sector do not meet hygiene standards. Kritika Kumar reports the ministry is working with the Consumer Council to address these issues affecting the health of consumers.
Permanent Secretary for Health Dr. James Fong says discussions are underway to mitigate the risks presented by non-compliant supermarkets and the informal sector.
I think this is a problem that we are facing now, both in the formal and informal sector. The selling of food that do not meet the standards of hygiene that we expect of them.
Dr. Fong says it's easy for the health inspectors to regulate the quality of food sold in supermarkets. However, the challenge lies with the informal sector.
In those when there is a high risk situation for deterioration of food, our health inspectors would be able to go in and mitigate that problem. In the informal sector, on the other hand, that's a difficult one.
The Consumer Council has made submissions to the ministry to address some of the similar recurring issues with supermarkets.
Through the Council's market surveillances and other complaints received, it has been discovered that there are still certain supermarkets who continuously breach the relevant Consumer Protection Act.
Consumer Council Chief Executive Seema Shandil says they need to iron out the issues of put-rate meat being sold in the supermarkets. She adds the recurring issue is becoming a concern for the council as it affects the health of consumers. Kritika Kumar, FBC News.
Providing peri-operative care in times of COVID-19 is a challenge for most health workers. Lutoka Hospital's consultant anesthetist Dr. Mara Vukivukiseru says caring for those with COVID-19 and assisting normal patients that come in daily has been a struggle. Kelly Vadala reports.
Perioperative care is the practice of ensuring patients are seen through their medical procedures until they recover.
To look after COVID-19 and even just looking after the normal patients without COVID-19, it's a challenge. And to have something like COVID-19 that you have to dress up in a special way, you have to treat things in a very, very, very special way.
Health Minister Dr. Efremi Wanganbete says health workers have been dedicated to keeping Fiji safe and procuring more COVID vaccines will ease their work.
What we're assured of is that COVAX will give us the first 20% of the vaccine. What we also assured of is that Fiji Airways, which has been really good to us, has told us that they are more than happy to pick up the vaccine for us.
The World Health Organization says health workers have played their role well and Fiji has done well in protecting its citizens.
This is really something to applaud, and there's a lot of work still going on about how does the economy recover, how do all the other sectors work together, education and all that.
Healthcare workers are working day in and out to ensure not only COVID-19 patients are cared for, but all Fijians have access to medical service at the nearest centre. Kelly Vatala, FBC News.
Up ahead, new dairy farm clusters established and more men venture into nursing.
मैं तो दिल्ली में रहता हूँ और रेडियो फीजी रोज सुनता हूँ.
रेडियो फीजी 2 देश की धड़कन.
Welcome back. The National Action Plan will be taking a more proactive approach towards gender-based violence once it comes into effect. Minister for Women and Children, Mereseni Vuniwaga, says current programs and policies largely revolve around reactive approaches to violence, and this needs to change. Ritika Pratap reports the action plan should be ready by the end of the year.
Speaking on FBC TV's For the Record program, the minister highlighted that everyone needs to know the roles they can play to prevent violence against women and girls.
Because if you take into account, for example, the Domestic Violence Act or the Domestic Violence Helpline, if you look at the remedies within that, it's mostly to do with violence after it's happened. What can we do as a government? But the National Action Plan is different in the sense that we're trying to prevent violence before it starts.
Vuniwaga says Fiji can have the best laws, but this is not enough to end domestic and gender-based violence. She adds a multi-stakeholder approach is needed to understand why these incidences happen.
So if we are not able to address gender inequality, then gender-based violence will continue, domestic violence will continue. which is why we need a national conversation about this.
The government is being assisted by UN Women and the non-governmental organizations in the consultation process.
We have a national prevention plan that the consultations for which is underway, which is great. It's all of government, all of civil society, all of Fiji, and hopefully something will come out of that, but that will take some more time.
The ministry received 527 genuine calls on domestic violence and gender-based abuse in February and April last year during the COVID-19 lockdown restrictions. This was a huge spike when compared to February of the same year, when only 80 calls were received on the helpline. Ritika Pratap, FBC News.
The number of dairy farms in Fiji increased from 987 in 2015 to 1,130 in 2019, resulting in an increase in milk production. Agriculture Permanent Secretary Ritesh Das says they exported over 23,000 kgs of milk in 2019 with $236,768. Das says 7 new farm clusters of dairy farmers in Waindina, Naitasiri were established in the past few weeks as part of the ministry's efforts to boost milk production. The Permanent Secretary says these were set up under the ministry's Dairy Industry Support Program aimed at reducing the national import bill. Das says there is a huge opportunity in dairy farming as it will create jobs and contribute to the growth of the economy. The Fiji Nursing Association has seen an increase in men taking up the profession. President Dr. Alisi Vundinyambola says it's pleasing to see the change in the female-dominated field. Dr. Vundinyambola, who is also the Associate Professor at the Fiji National University School of Nursing, says they're trying to deliver quality courses. She says nurses are among frontline workers in these trying times and support from families is critical.
Nurses who have husbands who are also nurses, and it's important that there is a lot of give and take, a lot of understanding and support that goes around in a family of nurses.
Overseas, Myanmar recorded its bloodiest day yesterday since the February 1st coup against elected leader Aung San Suu Kyi. At least 39 people were killed in a protest yesterday. And now let's join Whitney for tonight's business report.
Thanks, Edwin. Coming up in business tonight, COVID assistance continues. A new volleyball court opens in Malawai. Stay with us.
Bola, ang gono ilutoka tutalita ka ng Bola FM berarti nambang 2 en seri.
Bola FM nambang 2 en seri.
The Fiji National Provident Fund opened its Phase 3 Round 4 of COVID-19 relief assistance today. Acting Chief Executive Viliame Vondonaivalu says the first payment will be processed on the 30th of this month. Vondonaivalu says this phase is for those members who are employed but on reduced hours or wages. He adds the requirements and application process remains the same.
All members under this round must reapply so that the employer can confirm that they are still on reduced pay or reduced wage rate.
The blue chip Dow Jones Index has risen to its 5th consecutive record high, and the S&P 500 closed slightly higher as stock investors bought shares in hope of a strong reopening of the U.S. economy. We now join Sharon from HFC Bank with the latest from the money market.
Good evening. A quick look at trading on our local South Pacific Stock Exchange. 10,500 shares valued at around $33,600 were traded in 26 transactions. Trades were recorded for 7 of the listed entities, and following those transactions, the market capitalization for the last week fell by 0.68% and concluded the week at $3.37 billion. Meanwhile, Governor Philip Lowe of the Reserve Bank of Australia believes in investment in technology and data will be crucial to the country's economic revival. He also noted that the RBA would continue to assist the economy with increased support until it was closer to the goals of full employment and steady inflation. In global developments, stock prices are off to a solid start for the week, while U.S. bond yields hover near a 13-month peak. Investors are betting that U.S. economic growth will accelerate due to the passing of a gigantic $1.9 trillion stimulus package. The week ahead is filled with key economic data releases, especially for our Aussie counterparts. So let's see how our currency trends in the coming days. And that's all from your HFC Bank for now. Vinaka.
Here are the local exchange rates as set early this morning. While the Sangamali showed solid gains against the Aussie and Kiwi dollars as well as the Japanese yen, it slipped slightly versus the Chinese yuan, US dollar, Kina and the euro. Prices were rising on the commodities market. The price of oil rose to over $66 a barrel. Gold was up at $1,776 per ounce and silver was up at $26.12 an ounce. Minister for Youth and Sports Praveen Kumar has commended Fijians of Malawai, Nandi, for their enthusiasm in maintaining their physical fitness. Speaking at the opening of the Malawai volleyball court in Nandi, Kumar says the provision of the court will encourage the community in Malawai to also engage in physical activities. The volleyball court was funded by the Chinese government and it is valued at $80,000.
This project is intended for sports like volleyball, badminton, and other wellness programs that can be beneficial to the community. This new facility will also be an income-generating opportunity for the youths and the community in hosting sports events.
And that's it from Business Tonight. We now join Jamie with the latest in sports.
Thank you and good evening ahead in sports. Namosi Secondary off to a flying start. And interesting format for Mara Sevens. This and more coming up.
Hi, I'm Ini from Raki Raki. I love Gold FM, only the classic hits.
Gold FM, only the classic hits.
For many secondary school athletes, winning a gold medal is the ultimate goal when competing in the zone competition. However, for Namosi Secondary School long-distance runner Anna Narambilevu, the aim is to one day run on the tracks at the ANZ Stadium with her very own pair of track shoes. Narambilevu defied all odds today, winning the junior girls' 1500-meter event running barefoot, clocking a time of 5 minutes 47 seconds at the Suva Zone 1, which started this afternoon. Caroline Tavi with the details.
Taking the tracks for the first time, Anna Narambilevu knew she had to ensure all her hard work training on the rugged terrains of Namosi paid off.
Challenges that we faced coming into the competition, since we don't have proper facility to train in, so we have to make use of what we have.
This is not the end of the road for the 15-year-old Nakavika Namosi native as she prepares to take part in the 3,000 meters tomorrow.
I want to make Namosi known on the national level and maybe one day wear my very own track shoes.
So making his mark for the Namosi side senior boys 1,500 meters is Christopher Iowane.
Winning gold will not be easy and I will make the sacrifices needed to achieve it.
At the end of day one of the Suva Zone 1, Namosi is currently leading with the boys and girls division. In the girls division, Namosi leads with 3 gold, 3 silver and 2 bronze. And in the boys division with 2 gold, 1 silver and 1 bronze. Caroline Tavi, FBC Sports.
The Marist Rugby Club have added a little spice to the 45th Fiji Bitter Sapphire Marist Sevens this year. Teams will only know ahead of the tournament who their first opponent is. The result of that first pool match will then determine who their next opponent is. The process continues until the top 16 teams are confirmed. Tournament director Koli Korobulobula says that this will empower teams to set their own path to the elimination stage. He adds they've divided the pools into 3 groups of 16, 4 teams per pool and 4 pools per group.
So by the end of the 4th game, we'll have only 1 winner out of all those teams. That is basically the gist of it, and we hope it will be exciting. They decide their own future, they decide their own path.
In the Digicel Premier League, 5 teams remain unbeaten after the first 2 rounds. Out of the 5, only Mba, Suva and Lautoka have recorded a win and a draw, while Nandronga and Lambasa ended their first 2 matches with a draw. Nandi, Navua and Rewa have a draw and a loss each. Meanwhile, after their clash yesterday, Nanronga and Suva will both have something to prove this weekend. Akuladama has more.
It may have been just their second match in the top league after quite some time, but Nanronga is slowly proving their worth.
Today we look forward to our next game, which will be, I believe, a tough game against Ba. And we will try and keep our record intact.
Being unbeaten after 2 rounds is special for the Stallions, but not so much for defending league champion Suva.
We talked about it in the change room that they will come back, when they did. And failed from my part, I should have tightened up the defense a bit more, but it's football, you've got to take your chances.
Suva hosts Navua at the ANZ Stadium on Sunday, while Nanronga plays at home against Mba on the same day at 3 p.m. Aquila Dhama, FBC Sports.
Fiji-born Emoni Narawa scored a try to help the Blues claim a 39-17 bonus point Super Rugby Aotearoa victory over the Highlanders at Eden Park. Narawa, who had taken Mark Tele's place at the break, was untroubled to score out wide. Immobility of the Big Blues forward pack proved their myth as they ran rampant over the Highlanders and secured the Gordon Hunter Memorial Shield again. It was a 5th consecutive home win for the Blues, the best they've achieved since 2014. Manchester United maintained their dominance to finish in the English Premier League top 4 after they defeated West Ham 1-0 earlier today, thanks to a second-half own goal by defender Craig Dawson. Nasinu Panthers have set their eyes on a final spot in the Fiji Secondary Schools Rugby League Southern Zone. The Nasinu Secondary School side is one of the semi-finalists for the under-17 grade and is preparing for a tough battle this weekend. Venina Rakautonga has more.
It only gets harder from here after qualifying for the Southern Zone semi-finals.
We have to go back and work on our game plans and our game structure so that we can improve in our next week game.
Head coach Samuela Corindavilla says discipline is an area of focus in this week's training session.
We came victory, but I think we have some mistakes. We'll go back next week and we'll have to work on it.
The players believe teamwork will lend them a spot at the national elimination.
We want to work together as a team and listen to what our coach and captain is saying on the field and work our way up.
The under-17 side came out as victors in the quarterfinals against Sukuna Broncos, beating them 10-6 last Saturday. The team they will be up against this weekend is yet to be confirmed. Venina Rakautanga, FBC Sports.
Now, the play of the day, and the Parramatta Eels came from behind to win their first match in the 2021 NRL Premiership, beating the Broncos 24-16 last Friday. The Broncos fought to the end and almost found a match winner when Jake Turpin chased a Brodie Croft kick, but it was Fijian international Wanga Blake who saved the day. That's it from Sports Tonight in New Media. A look at one of the most talked about phones in the market this year, the new Oppo Find X3. Find out more after the break.
We love here in Tavua. We love Today FM. Today FM rocks.
Today's hit music on Today FM.
Welcome back. In New Media, with a great design, gorgeous screen and a microscope tucked into the camera array, the Oppo Find X3 packs everything we'd expect from a top-end flagship phone in 2021. And Angie is next with weather.
Hello to you and welcome to the Weather World. Do you even like this weather on a rainy Monday? Well, I bet you don't even feel like getting out of the bed this morning. Anyways, this weather is set to bring us more rain and unfortunately flash flooding in low-lying areas. Moving on, checking out the west, it was surrounded with dark clouds and had showers in between. Eastwards from Peck Harbour to Suva, a dull day which probably had us drinking coffee the whole day just to keep us up. More showers expected later tonight. And up north, showers ruled as well. At sea, southeast winds 20 to 25 knots, rough seas. Turning to the tides, high tide at 8:13 p.m. with low tide at 2:23 a.m. Sunrise at 6:09. For tomorrow, if you have outdoor plans, then I'm so sorry to say the day will be filled with showers. Tomorrow's temps, all centers will be cool in the low 20s. And looking further on to Wednesday, showers will ease, but it will still drizzle from time to time. That's all the weather news from my end. Have a warm evening.
And in Fijian Pulse tonight, we ask, are you aware of your rights as a consumer?
I believe I do know my consumer rights, and a lot of credit to Consumer Council's Facebook page, and I believe that it's a huge responsibility, and also the onus is on us to get informed on our rights, and as consumers get the best value for our money.
I don't know my consumer rights and I would love to know them.
As a consumer, we need to know our rights and responsibilities so that in order to be a better informed citizen for this country.
I'm aware of my consumer rights and I believe every consumer should know their rights as well.
And recapping our main stories, number of suicide cases alarming, corrections officers charged, and regulating quality of food a challenge. For these stories and others, you can tune in daily to our sister radio station Gold FM. To our poll question, last week we asked, should more awareness be created on gender equality in Fiji? 55% answered yes. This week we are asking, should Fiji kava exporters found mixing local and foreign kava have their licenses revoked? Visit our FBC website to answer. On to our shot of the day. This photo of Mount Washington in Kandavu was sent in by Watisoni Vungona. You can send us newsworthy pictures and videos. Email fbcnews@fbc.com.fj or share it with us via our various social media accounts including Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. That's your news this evening. I'll see you again tomorrow. Until then, Modemanda.
Hi, I'm Asalika and I'm from Lotoka and I love Today FM. Today FM rocks.
Today's hit music on Today FM.